Hey y'all, it's Christy from Teadoddles, and today I'm going to do a tutorial for my X's and O's heart scarf cowl that it's gonna be going on the whole month of February. So it'll be you can work on it till the end of February, even though Valentine's Day is on the 14th. I decided to leave it open for the whole month. It's certainly something you could wear whenever you wanted to, not just Valentine's Day. I will have a hashtag, which I'll list down below. It'll be hashtag XO Cow. That's what I decided on. I just figured that would be easier to remember. I will, like I said, list that down below. You can tag me on Instagram, or you can put it in my Facebook group. You can also email me pictures if you want to. I'm not on any other social media that you could tag me in, so that hashtag, you can use it on Facebook in the group too if you want to, but mostly that's for Instagram if you put the picture on Instagram. There will be a prize at the end that I'll pick. This scarf, as you'll see, it looks, let me just show you too. We're going to make, it's called X's and O's because we're doing corner to corner crochet, but we're making a heart. And there are puff stitches in one section and X stitches in the other one. It's harder to see. I say I have to find one, but I know they're in there. There they are right there. So that's why it's called X's and O's. So there are two sections. I'm going to show you how to join as you go. You could also join it separately and just make them all separately if you want. I like the join as you go personally, although you will be doing lots of slip stitches in this area, which we'll talk about here shortly. There is I lost my train of thought, y'all. So you're going to have to make about 15 total of these. So there'll be, let's say 7 of the O's and 8 of the X's, or 8 of the X's and 7 of the O's, however you want to do it. But 15 will give you about a 6-foot scarf. And I did a tutorial on Tuesday, which I'll also link. I'll try to put an iCard up here, and I'll link it down below, talking about using different weights. I am using a DK weight for mine. I'm using these Wool-Ease DK cakes for my scarf. I'm using Strawberry Shortcake and Forever Young, and this is a DK weight, and I'm using a 4mm hook, if I can get that to, there we go, 4.5mm hook. You can make this in any weight that you want to. That tutorial I did Tuesday covered worsted weight and bulky weight. I showed you how to adjust the number of squares if you want it to be the same size. Otherwise, you can make the pattern just as it is, and it's just going to be bigger than mine. It's going to be wider, okay? When I talk about squares and blocks, I'm referring to each corner to corner block. Within the pattern, there will be a blog post linked below that will have pictures and the written instructions if you prefer that. Because in this video, I'm going to go over most of it, but I'm not going to go over it row by row. I will go over how to incorporate the puff stitch, and I'll go over how to join the next one and how to do the X stitch within your corner to corner crochet, and then how to slip stitch to make this peak and eliminate some boxes, okay? Which is what I call each little grouping of corner to corner. And as I said, there is a prize that is available. Now, you don't have to make the whole scarf. I think I saw someone say they might make a table runner or something like that. All that's required to be entered is that you at least make both hearts okay? Because you could do so many different things with this. I love seeing what people do with my patterns, how they do it differently. So to be entered, you would need to at least make a puff, an O, and an X heart. Let's put it that way. And I'd love to see how you do it and what you do and you finish it. And you can share those pictures, like I said, on Instagram, in my Facebook group, Teadoddles Makers, which is listed below, or you can email them to me individually if you don't do anything on social media. Now, it will end on February 28th. So if you put a picture in my Facebook group, I'm also having a Share the Love challenge where you can make something for someone you love, because my maker group is for any form of making, not just crochet. So if you make the scarf, you can post it in there and you'll get an entry into both things. I will be picking a different winner for each one, but you would just get an entry for both. And you can see the rules for that on in my Facebook group. Now I'm going to show you the prize right quick. I'm going to give away, because I have an extra skeins of this. You know, I get little threads on stuff. So I had 2 each of these, and I'm not going to need both of them, all 4 of these, to make my cow. So these are going to be in the giveaway. 2 of the DK cakes, and I'm also you'll get one of my mini maker bags, which this is a leftover from last year's February club. So you will get 1 bag and 2 cakes of the woolies in the colors that I'm using for my scarf. So you can use it to make another scarf or whatever you would like. So that is what is up for grabs. And I'm sure I'll throw stitch markers and tees in with that. So now let's get on with this tutorial. Now that we have all of that out of the way, I will have all that information listed below too. So if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, or you can let me know by email as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and make my slip knot to begin. And we're going to make our first box. This is a fairly standard corner to corner crochet. I have another pattern that's called the Pixel and Lace Heart, which is also a corner to corner heart, but I used treble crochet in that because it was a bulky weight and I just liked the way it looked better. So it is slightly different than this pattern. This pattern is using double crochet. So if you've ever done corner to corner, this is going to be a fairly standard stitch for corner to corner. So we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to double crochet in the second chain from the end and in the last chain from the end. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3 chains. So double crochet here and in that last chain. Okay. Y'all, it is so hard to do this because I'm trying to make sure I stay on camera and pay attention to what I'm crocheting. All right, so that's one box. This is what I consider a box. This is basically like 3 double crochets, what it counts as. That chain 3 counts as a double crochet. Now we're gonna, so that's the box that's at the corner because they sit like a diamond. It's hard to show with yarn because it's so squishy, but once you make more of them, it'll make more sense. Okay, if you've never done corner to corner. So now we're going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to also chain in the 4th and 5th chain from the hook, just like we began it. You know, my yarn is trying to get hung on something over here. All right. I picked up a piece of fabric lint, which is all over in here. Let me get this yarn straight. It's getting getting hung on stuff. All right, so now we're gonna kind of turn around like this so that we can see that beginning chain 3 from the first box. And I don't go in the stitches for this one. I just go through that loop and slip stitch to it like that. And then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochet into this chain 3. Now I have done it different ways where I go through the chain 3 stitches, or I just loop around. If I have to do stitches in a chain, I normally loop around. It's just easier. But I don't think there's any wrong or right way to do that. It's just your preference, I think. So now we have, let me set this down. You can kind of see we have 2 boxes and we have 1. Each time you do a row, it increases by a box, which a box is what I call the 3 double crochet. So, and this yarn is a little bit squishy and lightweight, so it's harder to see than it is on a worsted weight yarn. So now we need to do the 3rd row, and the 3rd row is the first row to have a puff stitch in it, okay? So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. Double crochet in the 4th and 5th chain from the hook. There we go. And we got to kind of turn our work so we can see that chain 3 from the box next to it. We're going to slip stitch in there and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now it's time to make our first puff stitch. We're going to make it just like you make a standard puff stitch. We're just making it within our corner to corner boxes. So we're going to yarn over, go under your chain 3, pull up 1, yarn over again, 2, yarn over again, 3, yarn over again, 4, yarn over one more time, 5. And you'll notice that I pull that stitch up even with the stitches on my hook. That is a trick to a puff stitch, to pull those stitches up. You don't want them tight. You're going to have kind of a loop going on there. So we're going to yarn over and pull through all the stitches on our hook. And then I like to do a chain 1 at the top to close it off. And we're going to put 1 more double crochet beside it in that chain 3 space. And that just helps that puff stitch stand out a little bit more once you go on along. So then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into this next chain 3 space, chain 3, and put 2 double crochet into that chain 3 space. Just like that. Alright, so now we have our first puff stitch in here. You can see the box is a little bit better. So this is the 3rd row. So each row, the number tells you the number of boxes. So we start with 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes. Okay, you're adding a box every time you go up. So now you're going to do 2 rows of regular corner to corner, and then every 3rd row has a puff stitch in it. Okay, and we always do a regular box on each end. So I'm going to go ahead and do those 2 rows, and then I'll be back to do the next row of puff stitches just so I can show you that how that works. We always have a regular box on the end and the puff stitch in the middle. Now, except for the peak of the heart, which you can kind of see here, I did do a puff stitch in the peak of the heart. I decided I like the way that looked. I did not do an X stitch in the peak for the X heart because it just doesn't work because of the way I did it. So it just doesn't work. So I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to do this right quick and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have done 2 rows of regular corner to corner, and I've started the next one. I have a regular box, and then I have my puff stitches going along, and you'll notice since I did this at odd intervals, they'll be kind of going opposites of each other, and they'll poke out more on one side than the other side. I did this intentionally because I liked the way it looked, and because you see a scarf from both sides, so then you can see the little puffs from both sides. So in the last 2 boxes I've got, or 2 that I have to do, so I'll just do my chain 3, 2, 3, and then I'll do my puff stitch, which is you yarn over, and then you insert your hook and yarn over 5 times for a puff stitch. I think I lost my count. That looks about right. I think I lost count because I was talking and not counting. And then we'll put that double crochet in, and then my yarn will stop getting tangled up. I'm gonna put slip stitch to that chain 3 and chain 3 more. Do my last regular box. So I have, so that's what I meant. We'll have kind of a border around the puff stitches. Puff stitches will only be in the middle of the row that they go in. Like I said, it's every 3rd row, but it'll be listed in the pattern. And I will have a little chart so you can see where the X's and O's go. They go in the same place in each pattern, except, like I said, the X's don't go in the peaks because the stitch just doesn't work at the peaks. So now we will do 3 more rows, or 2 more regular rows, a row of puff stitch, and then a row of regular boxes before we start the decrease. So I'm gonna pause again, and I'll come back when we get to the decrease, so I can show you how to do the decrease, and then I'll have to go over how to do the decrease to leave out boxes. So I'm gonna let y'all go again for just a few more minutes. Okay, now I have done I did 2 more rows of standard corner to corner, 1 row with the puff stitches, and then 1 more row of standard corner to corner. So I should have 10 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 boxes. And for anyone who is using a different weight yarn, and you're wanting to, if you're using a heavier weight yarn and you want to decrease it so it's not so wide, you want to end on an even numbered row of boxes. Okay, so you could end on 6 and start your decrease, or 8 and start your decrease. It just needs to be an even row of boxes so that you have the center peak. So now we're going to go through, we're starting to decrease. We're going to decrease 1 regular row, and then decrease 1 puff row, and then we'll start building the peak in that next row after that puff stitch. But I just want to show you how I do my decreases. I like to chain 1 here, and then I'm going to turn my work, and that 1 counts as my slip stitch for this first stitch, and then I slip stitch into this next double crochet, and I slip stitch into the chain 3. So that's how I do my decreases in corner to corner. I just like the way it looks better. I think it gives it cleaner. Now this particular yarn is going to give a lacier corner to corner look than a thicker yarn will, just because it's lighter weight and because of the stitch I'm using. You could use half double crochets if you wanted a tighter look with a smaller yarn, but that's not what I wanted for this particular pattern. So once you do that, you're just going to start making your boxes as you usually do. With corner to corner, if I can keep my stitch together. Y'all, I've done this so many times now because I had to do them I did them for an example to show, and I did it for pictures for the tutorial for my blog, and now I'm doing it again. Of course, I need 15 total boxes, so it's okay. I will keep making them until I'm done, and then I'll be ahead. I'll have, by the time I finish this tutorial, I will have 6 boxes out of my 15. Now, I'm going to show you in this video how to join with a slip stitch the next heart. At the end of, or in about 2 weeks, I'd say, I'm going to show you how to join them separately. If you want to make them individual and join them together, it'll be using a mattress stitch, but it's just a little bit different because you're joining at a corner instead of just straight across. So I will be showing you how to do that in about 2 weeks, so you can start finishing, or go ahead and start joining them as you finish. In this video, I'll show you how to join one as you're working your next heart. Tangle in my yarn. So I'm also going to put a border on this. So, and I don't know if I said previously, but you need a 2 contrasting colors. My yarn happens to have gradients within the colors as well, so I like the way that looks. But you can just have 2 contrasting colors. If you don't have contrasting colors, you're not going to see the hearts defined as well. Now, in my original pattern, I did show how to do some surface crochet to make a line where your hearts are, so you could do that if you just wanted to use one color of yarn as well. You just won't see that definition between the hearts if they're the same color. You won't notice it as much. So, and then my border, I'm going to pick one of these to use as my border. You could put a 3rd color in there, or however you want to do that. So, and as far as yardage and stuff, since I'm almost at 6 and I have a lot of this cake left, I could probably do 2 whole scarves, maybe more, out of this skein of yarn. And this has, for DK weight, this has 393 yards on it. So my original pattern, which was bulky weight, I want to say I used 2 skeins. These 4 skeins total in that pattern. That one, all the squares were the same. See, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, so now I've come to the other side where I need to keep a decrease. So I'm not going to make that last box. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and then I'm going to turn. And I'm going to do the same, similar to what I did before. I'm going to skip that first one, and I'm going to go to this one and slip stitch, and then slip stitch into that chain 3. And now this row will have bobbles in it, and it will be the last row before we start. We have to decrease at the peak, which does involve slip stitches as well. So I'm going to pause right here and get this one out, and then we can come back to the decrease at the peak. All right. Okay, I am ready to do my center decrease. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have an even number. You always want to have an even number of boxes before you do the peak. That's why it's in. So I say to start decreasing at an even number, but you need to start your peak on an even number too. And that's because you got to think about your filler boxes. We got one here, 2, 3, and then we've got a center one, okay? So you need to have an even number of filler boxes on each side. So you can end, as long as you're ending your row that you're going to start your peak on an even row, you'll be good. This decrease row, I say an even row, it just tends to work out better with the stitches. It matters more that you have an even number of boxes on the row that you're going to start putting the peak in, because you want that center place to put your gap, to leave out a box. Now, I think I said earlier that in this video I was going to show you how to join the next block, but I'm actually going to do that in a video next Friday, because this is a crochet along after all. So I'm going to do the X heart next Friday, and this Friday I'll just have the O's portion, the O heart, and then so you can go ahead and make how many O hearts you want to, or you can wait until I show you how to do the X heart and join it. So since this is a crochet along, and then in week 3 I will show you how to join without, if you make them separate instead of, because I have some I'm going to have to join separately, because I made little 2 sets for my tutorials, and then you'll have, you'll be able to join them as you go along, and then I may go ahead and start do the border then. There's not that many weeks in February. I really need to look at my calendar first. I think I got one more Friday that I can do the border on before we finish up. So that's the plan for this, and I don't know why I was thinking I need to do it all in this video, but y'all, I got a lot going on right now. All right, let's go ahead and do this decrease. So we're just gonna, I've already decreased my corner, so I'm gonna put in 3 regular boxes. I've got yarn tangled up. That's because I had to pull out stitches because I did too many. So when I do this and over the puff stitch, I just go into this chain 3, same as any of the other ones. Slip stitch and chain 3. The only thing you have to be careful about here is not getting your hook caught on the puff stitch, because I've done that on occasion too. And usually, if I put my finger over it, if I remember to put my finger over it, I can avoid that and hold down those stitches. I still catch it sometimes. And then sometimes if you fold your work like this, you can prevent catching the puff stitch in the next box as well. All right, so now we are at the center, where the center is, where the peak. We're going to leave this box out in the center. So for when I slip stitch to the stitches for this, I do go in the chain. And that's because I've got a slip stitch across all 3 chains. And going around it with a slip stitch, you can't really go around 3 times with a slip stitch, because it just doesn't work. It doesn't work, okay? So I'm going to go between the stitches for all of these slip stitches. So I'm going to slip stitch across all 3 chains on this box so that I can get to the center portion. And then on this side, I'm going to slip stitch in the double crochet, in the puff stitch, and into this chain 3. Okay, so I'm just slip stitching. Now I think in my pictures I may have put a slip stitch here in this little center portion. If you feel your stitches are too tight, you can put a slip stitch there as well, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and just slip stitch over here. So I'll do 1, 2, and this time I'm just going to go around because I'm going to make chain 3s. So that's how we leave out a box. I'm just slip stitching. If I can stay on camera. I'm just slip stitching down and back up so I can leave out that box that would go there. And then I just continue on making my boxes. So the last 3 that are in this row, and I tend to be a very loose, I wouldn't say loose, probably an average tension crocheter. I don't crochet super tight stitches. So I know some of y'all crochet really tight. I have a friend who has a death grip on their needle. I try to hold it lightly, like because sometimes I get in there, and if I'm frustrated about something and I am not in the mood for crochet or whatever, I grab it too hard, and then my hand starts hurting, and then things get too tight, and it just, it's supposed to be a relaxing experience. So anytime I start feeling like that, I try to walk away. So now we're going to turn again. We're going to just go slip stitch across like we did before to get to our other box. And now we just got to put, we're going to skip the center stitch again. So you will be slip stitching over slip stitches in this heart. You just have to, I'll show you how to find, if you go through 2 loops, you're good, okay? Because it can get a little congested with all the slip stitches. So we'll just make 2 more boxes. And I apologize if I'm off camera doing this. I am really trying to stay on camera because I am standing and crocheting currently because of the way the setup is sitting. I can't see my phone and see if it's recording. So yeah, I guess I need to figure out a better way to do this. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Since I'm going to skip this box, I'm going to go between the stitches instead of slip stitching around it, because I need it to slip stitch across all 3 chains here. If you can only catch 1 loop, that's okay too. I just like to catch 2 loops because it just holds better, in my opinion. So now we're coming to the 3 slip stitches we did before. And really, you just, sometimes you gotta finagle it a little bit and get under those 2 stitches. That's where it can become an issue if you are a tight crocheter too. And I'm not a tight crocheter, and sometimes I get an extra stitch in there, and that's okay. And now your other ones are going to be kind of facing the other way from you. So I'm just going to turn it a little bit so I can see them, so I can catch those slip stitches. This is probably the part where I have to slow down the most in this kind of pattern, because I'm just trying to get into the stitches. And if you can only get 1 loop, that's okay too. Sometimes I only get 1 loop. It usually lays down pretty good once you get to the next part. So now we're to this regular box, and we can just slip stitch in the top of the 2 double crochets and a regular slip stitch around the chain 3. And then we're going to make the rest, our other 2 boxes. I've got the yarn loop out. There we go. And we'll just make our last 2 boxes. If I can get my yarn to stay on the hook, it'll be good. I think I picked up a loop balloon. It's all right. You know, I am not picky about stuff like that. Some people are very picky, and they will undo it. Now, if I'm doing something for a client, I would be pickier. I don't crochet for people. I don't sell my crochet work because I got dogs and dog hair, so I don't see. It would be hard for me to keep that off of there. All right, so now we've come across, we've left out those 2 boxes. You can see the peak starting to form in the heart. So the last 2 things we got are these 2 boxes here, and we will be slip stitching across that again. Like I said, it gets a little snug in there with all the slip stitches, but if we did like single crochet or something like that, it would fill in the peak too much, and it wouldn't be as prominent as the slip stitches. In my original pattern, I only left out 1 box because it was bulkier, and it didn't take. I had to go wider on this with the smaller yarn to make it look more like a heart. Leaving 1 box out just didn't look right. So this will be a puff stitch. So we yarn over, pull up 1, yarn over, pull up 2, yarn over, pull up 3, yarn over, pull up 4, and yarn over, pull up 5. And there we go. I do my chain 1 and a double crochet into here. And then I'm going to do my slip stitch into the chain because we are going to slip stitch across all 3 stitches in this chain again. Just like that. You can see the little puff in the corner right there. All right, we are almost done with this O block. So now we're gonna slip stitch in these stitches again. Now, if you don't get the correct count, it's not a big deal. I try to put 3 across there just to keep up with my stitches. 1, 2, 3 into that block. And then you can kind of see these stitches are more in the front. And you go there, or you can go across these again. Those are the older ones probably. Or the older ones, the beginning ones. I like to catch 2 stitches if I can, but sometimes it just don't want to do it. 2 and 3. And I'm showing y'all this so y'all can see that if y'all have trouble with that, then it is not because you're doing something wrong. It's just a little bit, it's a little bit snug when you go across there so many times with so many slip stitches. Sometimes it's just about finding the right 2 stitches to get into. That one went a whole lot easier. There we go. One, 2, 3. Now we can do just the slip stitch and the 2 double crochet and the last chain. We make our last puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there we go. That would finish our O heart. All right, and then you would just fasten off and weave in your ends as you normally do, because when we join the X heart, we're going to join it in here. We're going to have to do more slip stitches over this to join as you go. I prefer it. I find that easier to do than the mattress stitch after you've made them all, but everybody likes to do things differently. So that is the first part of the cowl. That is our O heart. Next Friday I will do the X heart and show you how to join as you go. If you're not going to do that, you can go ahead and make however many O hearts you want to, or whatever you're going to do. An idea that I would like to make one of these out of an X heart and an O heart out of cotton yarn, and make me another pot holder. I think that would be really cute. Just make it a little bigger. So that's something I've been thinking about doing. Although I think my cotton is worsted weight, so it would be bigger anyway. So that is an idea for me. Like I said, to enter the cowl, all you have to do is make at least one O heart and one X heart and show us how you did it. It should be finished object. And then you would be entered to win the prizes I showed in the beginning. We will be doing a border. If you would like to finish yours with a border or not, that's up to you. Some people don't like borders. It just has to be a finished object and have one X and one O heart. I'd like to see what y'all all do with everything that I show you. I would like to see some people make the whole scarf, but I am giving y'all that option. I love to give patterns that you can do in many different ways with many different yarns. It gives people a more creative leeway, so to speak, and then I can see what everybody comes up with. Like I said, all the other details will be down below. And now the only rule, if you want to double dip into my Spread the Love and my Teadoddles Makers, you have to be entered into that, you also have to say who you're giving it to. It's supposed to be about making something to give to someone, even if it's a gift to yourself. So that's the only thing in there. When you post your finished picture, you tell us a story about who you made it for and why you made it, even if it's just for you, or a family member, or your dog, or whoever you're giving it to. Love is for everybody. So I think that's the end of the tutorial. If y'all have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or you can email me. And I will see y'all for the next part next Friday. Bye.